You want to shred amazing sounding metal solos. So of course you learn some licks, you learn some songs and techniques, but sometimes you feel a bit stuck creatively. Maybe you don't know that much about music theory, or you feel like you're playing the exact same licks all day, or maybe you can't play as fast and virtuosic as you want to yet. That's exactly why I want to take you through my 6 levels of creating amazing sounding metal guitar solos today, and here's how this works. I prepared a simple but awesome sounding backing track with the plugins I got from the guys at Toontrack this month. First I will play 6 different takes and licks for you that embody all the metal guitar solo essentials you absolutely have to internalize, from easy to hard. And then I will explain the twist with every take. That's right, there are a couple of secrets that make all these solos look much harder than they actually are. And learning about these tricks will help you with sounding better and more creative right after watching today's video until the end. Let's do this. Alright, so the first level has to be based on the A minor pentatonic scale, right? I guess we're all familiar with this shape, and this is the one that most rock and metal guitar players start out with. Mostly because there are just 5 notes in the scale and 2 notes on each string. But this is much more than just a beginner scale, and although we're just starting out with level 1, it already sounds quite interesting, and here's why. The first secret is of a rhythmic nature. As you can see in the first 2 measures, I'm playing 8th note triplets almost exclusively, but if you listen closely, the backing track actually has a 16th note feel. So that actually results in an interesting rhythmic displacement or polyrhythmic feel. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The odd and interesting thing is that I'm actually playing groups of 2, mostly perfect fourths, so D and G, E and A, G and C, and so on. But I'm playing triplets here, so it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. It's actually 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Which sounds really cool. So the first big trick and secret, try to consciously experiment playing triplets against straight beats. It might drive your drummer crazy at first, but this is an awesome trick for getting more advanced licks while working with pretty basic note material. And the second trick is something you might be familiar with already. I really love to extend the 2 note per string pentatonic scale to a 3 note per string approach. That gives me really cool and interesting possibilities phrasing wise, and you can start this adventure easily with the last lick that I included in the take. So I have a note repetition right here. I'm playing A on the 5th fret and on the 10th fret right here as well. Sounds pretty cool. Then I have the blue note right here for that bluesy kind of sound. And of course I have to end with a harmonic right here. Of course I highly suggest learning and stealing some of today's licks for your own music. As always, you can find the tabs and guitar profiles along with my latest online guitar courses on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BERNTH, so that you can start working on those metal guitar solo gains right after watching today's video. So the second level is all about getting into alternate picking and 3 note per string shapes. This is where the shredding journey really begins. And here's why you should learn this one. So an awesome way of getting started with level 2, introducing some alternate picking lines into your playing, is working with scale sequences first. That's an awesome trick and shortcut. So for the beginning of this lick, I was working in the second 3 note per string position of A minor, so starting with the second note in the scale, B. But instead of just playing the scale position up and down, I was playing the first 4 notes. Then I was returning to the second note and played 4 notes up. Then I was returning to the third note and played 4 notes up. And I'm sure you get it by now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. and so on. But here's the twist for you. I didn't start on the 1 with this lick like most players would. You can see a 16th note rest at the beginning, so I'm starting at the second 16th note, but I'm actually not changing the picking pattern right here, so I'm still playing downstroke, upstroke, and so on. Not always starting on the 1 makes your scale phrases and sequences much more interesting. And for the second part I was just playing a super simple melody with alternate picking. Once again, the timing is kind of interesting with that one, since I'm not just playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. It's a bit cooler than that. 1, 2. So I'm kind of accenting the offbeats, and playing simple alternate picking melodies like that is a great and easy way of introducing this technique to your guitar solos. One thing that I absolutely need to mention real quick, because I'm quite happy about it. We reached a lot of new watchers with the videos recently, so hello to everybody who's not watching the channel for that long. But this also resulted in the worst subscriber-non-subscriber ratio across all guitar channels on YouTube. So if you are not a real part of our community yet, make sure to subscribe right now. It's absolutely free, and that way you won't miss any more videos in the future. So level 3 suddenly sounds much more musical, professional and interesting, right? But why does this suddenly sound more advanced and creative, although it's not exactly harder to play? Well, here's the secret for you. So with the first 2 examples I was pretty much ignoring the single notes and the note changes in the backing track. So the simple backing track was played on a 7th string and it's based on the notes A, C and B. And since those are the first 3 notes of the A minor scale, I was just working with the basic A minor pentatonic scale box for the first example, and with a 3-note per string A minor scale position for level 2. But now with level 3 I was paying close attention to every single note change and I was accenting them melodically. So for the first note A, I was just working with a super simple A minor arpeggio, really just the root A, minor 3rd C, and perfect 5th E, and then I was also sliding up to the minor 6th F and back down to the perfect 5th E. And then for the second note, for C, I was just thinking of the chords in the A minor scale, and I would actually have a C major or C major 7th chord on the 3rd scale degree. So once again I was just playing the root C, major 3rd E and perfect 5th G. And I was also tapping the major 3rd E 1 octave higher to make it more interesting. And when I play that for you, you immediately hear A minor, C major. So it's not just a scale anymore that's being played up or down. I'm consciously accenting that melodic and harmonic movement. So if I would keep thinking in the A minor scale for the next note B, I would actually have to play a B diminished or B half diminished, minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. But since the riff is really just playing single notes and not full chords, I can also pick a completely different arpeggio and I can get away with it. So I was working with a B major arpeggio, the root B, major 3rd D sharp and perfect 5th F sharp. And to get that really awesome augmented sound, one of my favorite tricks ever, I was just sliding up to the sharp 5 or augmented 5th and back down. So I suddenly got this advanced and awesome sound out of the single notes in the background. So in case level 3 was a bit too much about music theory for you, we're back to the actual technique challenges with level number 4. And this one is all about adding virtuosity and shredding to your guitar solos. So for the first 16th note triplet lick, I was thinking in this scale position. And I was also using the one below it that you might remember from level 2. So 2 nice and easy symmetrical A minor scale positions, and I didn't get too crazy phrasing wise yet, it's just standard shredding. Nothing too special, but I think the coolest thing is happening in the second half of the second measure. Here I'm just quickly switching between triplets and straight 16th notes. And I personally really like to add such details to my lines. And to change things up a bit, I was working with legato, so with hammer-ons and pull-offs for the second half of the lick. So when I want to include some fast shredding in my guitar solos, I always try to balance alternate picking with legato, because you get that kind of awesome aggressive sound with alternate picking, and a more fluid and relaxed kind of fusion style sound with the legato licks. If playing that fast and fluid with hammer-ons and pull-offs is a bit difficult for you, you can check out the recently released legato course on Patreon. This one will greatly help you out with getting your legato chops to a professional level in just 30 days. Alright, so we can't really talk about metal guitar solos without mentioning sweep picking. I want to show you a couple of really cool arpeggio shapes and how I personally approach arpeggios and sweep picking theory-wise with my own music, for example with the latest single, Seance. So most of you guys and girls are probably familiar with the basic mechanics of sweep picking. So instead of playing a scale with alternate picking, for example, so down, up, your picking hand is gliding or sweeping across the strings, hence the name, similar to the strumming motion when you're playing chords. And that exact motion allows you to play very fast once your hands are in sync. Once again, I'm just focusing on the note changes in the riff and I'm accenting them with arpeggios. But this time I'm not just playing on 2 strings like with level 3, so root, minor third, perfect fifth for example. I'm playing with the very common 5-string shapes. So this is the first and really popular shape that I'm using for A minor. Then I'm using this easy shape for C major, technically also an A minor shape. Then I'm just moving it 1 fret down for B major and I'm just changing the last note here on the A string. And then the last 2 shapes I use for C major and B major might be the most difficult ones because you have to do some barring with your middle finger. So the challenge is that you want separated notes. So I have to roll my middle finger back and forth a bit like this to separate each note. We sadly don't have time to go into all the details when it comes to sweep picking. Please make sure to check out the full course I recently made for you on Patreon. That one is perfect for you in case you would like to start with the fundamentals and then move to more and more challenging exercises over the course of 30 days. Alright, so level 6, today's final level, is actually all about phrasing and playing interesting solos. I'm sure that this will help you with sounding more creative and interesting right away. So I started my solo with a really cool half tone or half step bend with a bend and release approach and also some added vibrato. That should hopefully get the attention of the listener right away. I'm actually just playing A right here, so the root, over that first chord or that first note in the riff. But I'm starting a half tone lower, so on G sharp, and I bend that one up to A. And if you know your scales, you know that this is actually the characteristic note for A harmonic minor. So this is a great trick to get that kind of exotic harmonic minor sound without actually playing the scale. And the next trick is already one of my favorites when it comes to better and more interesting phrasing. One thing that will make your licks much more interesting right away is spacing your notes a bit more. Because as you could see with the previous examples, we're often just ascending or descending in scales. And once you're spacing those notes a bit more and you're not just playing a sequence of notes up or down, it starts to sound like this. So by working with some stretching right here with my fretting hand and with some tapped notes with my picking hand, or tapping hand in that case, there's simply much more room in between those notes, so I'm playing lower notes and higher notes, and because of that it almost sounds like a phrase that a piano player would play. And that's one of my absolute favorite phrasing tricks and secrets. I also applied it in the third measure where I'm playing a mix of a scale and an arpeggio. So once again, some stretching in there to make it sound wider. And in the end, of course, I also had to include a fast alternate picking run to sum things up for today. So that's sadly all we have time for today. Thanks so much for watching until the end. Don't forget to download all of your practice files for today's video on Patreon right now. And also make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the next video. You can also leave a like in case you enjoyed this one. Today's random German word for you is Bild. That means image. You know the drill, make sure to comment it down below because it greatly confuses everybody who's not watching these videos until the end. And I will see you again very soon in the next video. Have an awesome day and tons of fun shredding. Great news, my friends, I'm finally on Spotify to provide you with some awesome guitar music and shredding. You can already listen to my first full-length album, Elevation. And there's plenty more exciting music in the making for you right now. So make sure to follow me on Spotify today. The link is in the description, or you can just search for my name.